Lee from ThatsItLA, and I have the pleasure of talking to Everett Downing and Patrick Harpin of My Dad the Bounty Hunter. How are you, both of you, doing?
Doing great.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So this show, I really enjoyed it. As you were talking about earlier in the long lead, it has this cinematic feel to it, and yet it's episodic as well. So there's a lot of ground to cover, I guess, in terms of themes and storytelling. I was wondering how you struck that balance between all that action and sci-fi that we expect to see in a kind of bounty hunter kind of movie, but also make it feel grounded with the family elements that come with it.
Yeah, I mean, it was for us, I think a lot of this stuff is kind of in our wheelhouse. I mean, it's the kind of storytelling that we like to do. But I mean, everything like that we put in there, like we're a firm believer in, like, you know what, every fight has to be about something, right? Like, we're not going to fight just to fight. Like, there has to be a reason. And so it's like, it's not the fight, but it's the, the issue behind the fight, and that only works if, like, the characters are working and the characters' motivations are there, right? So we were big sticklers on that, and because we had a lot of smart people in the room, a lot, and we're talking about some of these character issues and stuff, we kept it like very open, so a person could say, like, you know what, Lisa wouldn't do that though, that doesn't feel right. And a lot of, we had that maturity to go, like, you know what, that you're right, like, what would that be? So a lot of times it's like, we're really key on, like, best idea wins, keeping the room open so people feel like comfortable to comment, and we're all here to make the best thing, right? We're all here to make the show the best it can be. So it's keeping that room open and honest.
And to your question, I was thinking about, like, you mean like how do we keep it grounded, right? With all the sci-fi, right? Like, I feel like one thing that we're constantly doing is, it's like power limitations, where it's like, don't make somebody too powerful, or like, we do stuff in the show where it's like, dad needs warp pods to fly, and it's like setting that up where it's like the kids threw out the warp pods, he can't fly them back, like, kind of,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, and we do, in that, there might be some plot holes, but for the most part, we try to kind of, cover our tracks story wise, so it just feels more like a real world, or like somebody can't get thrown through 5 walls and live.
Yes.
This isn't the Avengers. Like,
Right.
We're trying to, and it's animation, so it's like you can fudge stuff a little bit, but we usually have tried to keep it like realistic, or if someone's like, hey, that's not, you can't really throw somebody that way. Like, there's a lot of people in the show who will weigh in, like, one of the directors, like, I do martial arts, and like, this is how you would do that. And like, there was just a lot of like cross-pollination of people talking to each other to always try and keep things grounded. Or the things that should be grounded are grounded. The things that don't need to be, like crazy aliens, it's like that you can go nuts.
Yeah.
So I wanted to also address this whole theme of how there's a lot of representation, and you also pull from real life inspirations, as you were mentioning early on in the long lead again. So I wanted to know how important it was to actually pull from life, and for Everett, what's it like to showcase, or not so much showcase, but bring that kind of Black representation and Black pride into a show like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge for me, as you can imagine, but the approach was, it's like, and then this is always my approach, it's like, I want to tell just from my unique perspective, but by taking you through my unique perspective, you're going to see, like, oh, you know what, there are some things that are different, but then there's a lot of stuff that's just the same. We all love our kids, we all feel a certain way about our kids, and like, this is the way we show affection, like, for our kids. Oh, well, hey, you know what, that's not that different from the way that I do it with my family, but at the same time, there's that joy of being able to, like, really put a Black family at the center of it, and have it feel authentic, and have it feel like it's, like normal, right? Like, it's not like, we're not doing anything, I don't want to say try, but like, it's just like, hey, we're in space following these kids who stowed away with their parents, with their dad on this adventure, and they happen to be black. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
it's a different distinction, you know, and it
Yeah.
feels different. It just feels different.
I believe I'm on my last few questions, but it's pulling from a lot of other cinematic films. Is My Dad the Bounty Hunter kind of a gateway to introducing some of more the gritty, more blue collar sci-fi, like you were mentioning? So like, if you watch this, then your kids can probably watch, depending on what age they are, they can probably watch The Thing, Attack the Block, you know, Aliens. Would this show kind of be considered a kind of a gateway to those kind of films?
Netflix would probably get mad at me if I said this is a gateway drug, but if it's to gritty, cool sci-fi, then yes.
And speaking of those inspirations, were there any other were there any other things that you were looking to pull from, not just from sci-fi, but other you know, other probably other genres that you wanted to tackle in the show?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously it's mostly sci-fi, but then there's you know, just a little bit of horror in one episode, another episode that feels a little bit like a Western, you know. So there's definitely a nod, like, you know, there's a heist movie, you
Oh,
know,
see. Yeah.
you know, Ocean's
Yeah.
11. There's like an Ocean's 11 type of episode, like, so. I mean, we definitely have a lot of different influences that are creeping their way in.
You're kind of like you know, it's almost like you're pulling whatever you need, right?
Yes.
Where it's like, okay, it's this kind of situation. What do we,
Okay.
you know, we also, even like when we say, like, Edgar Wright was a big influence, like in how it's very cinematic, but it's also like a comedy, but then it's scary, and it's like in the same episode, you know, and like he was an influence. I think some of that comes from like American Werewolf in London.
Yep.
I know he's influenced, and we love that movie
that.
where
Yeah.
it's like, what is this? What's the tone of this movie? It's like, it's the characters are funny and real, but then it scares the crap out of you like 10 minutes later, you know, and it's very like, and it's like that playfulness with tone is something that we really consciously tried to do, where like you can have a Game of Thrones, you know, palace intrigue scene right up against something that's very like right after something that was very like Jerry Lewis slapstick, you know, and it doesn't, hopefully it like feels like a good sandwich.
Yeah,
Not
I totally get
disparate.
it.